The hashtags for those of us online is GreenH2SA. Please can I ask that you download the app in order to see where the sessions are a little bit later on, as there are many. You can scan at the welcome desk. You also have that information in your delegate pack. You're also invited to the networking session on the square at the end of the day. Let's begin then. Please may I ask Premier Winder to make his way to the stage to open the conference and welcome us.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Molweni, Wamkilekile, Goeiedag, baie welkom, good morning, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you to this, I want to say, very, very exciting conference, looking at green hydrogen, but also looking at a green transition and the role that we can play here in Southern Africa for the world. It is really an honor and a privilege to be able to welcome you here. I, after yesterday, feel that as the welcoming Premier of the province hosting, I feel that almost Premier Zamani Saul should be standing next to me because, quite frankly, Mr. President, what has happened in the last while is, for me, a really amazing partnership between two provinces that are taking this challenge, global challenge, and our own challenge so very, very seriously. But before I get to that, Mr. President, ministers, now, Program Director, you read out the full list, and that's why in our country we say all protocol observed. But I want to go a little bit further and say, of course, we welcomed all of the South African ministers, but we have African ministers here. We have delegates from around the world, delegations from around the world. We have investors, and we have people that are really, really interested in making sure that you can partner with us and that we can all play our part in making sure that we get to a proper transition of energy, that we focus on a big crisis that our world is facing around lowering our carbon footprint, about making sure that we reach those targets that we've all set for 2030 and for 2050. And I think this conference comes perfectly at the right time following COP. I want to say that, Mr. President, I mentioned to you the work that has been done yesterday, and not all of you were able to be there, but we got an opportunity to go out to the free port of Saldanha. Some of the delegations joined us. But what also happened, and I mentioned this new partnership between two provinces, and what we are looking at when it comes to a green hydrogen corridor and the role that we can play in South Africa and the role that we can play in Africa is really, really important. So yesterday we signed an MOU between two provinces, between two premiers. And that's why I said perhaps Premier Zamani Saul should be standing next to me, because when I welcome you to this province, I actually welcome you to the two Cape provinces, the Northern Cape and the Western Cape. These two provinces already have already have green hydrogen strategies, Northern Cape and Western Cape, agreed to by the respective cabinets and provincial governments. And delegates, we are really very, very serious that we want to play our part alongside and with the African Green Hydrogen Alliance. There is a massive market, $130 trillion, if we are on this planet to reach our targets that we've set by 2050. And Africa is serious about playing our part. One thing that we have, when you look at the heat map, the solar heat map, the Northern Cape stands out like no other. We can already feel it with the investment that has taken place in green energy in the Northern Cape, in the Western Cape, and in South Africa. And so when we talk about this partnership, when we talk about the strategy, when we link the Northern Cape, the Western Cape, the free port of Saldanha, some of you are going to fly to the Northern Cape tomorrow to go and have a look at a new port that is to be developed. When you take those into account and then you link it to our neighboring country, Mozambique. Sorry. When you link it to our neighboring country, Namibia, we'll get to Mozambique and the role that Mozambique will play. Namibia, you can really start to feel this corridor developing. Now, Mr. President, ministers, delegates, investors, I want to say, and I said it yesterday and I'm going to say it again, that the one thing we need to make sure that we grasp is one of urgency. And there, I would like to not only welcome the politicians and the investors, I want to say to the government officials who have worked day and night to get these documents in place, who've worked between our provinces, the Director Generals, the economic development departments, and then specifically, Professor Ramaphosa, you, Mr. Mashweshwe, and your team. Thank you very much for really showing that urgency. We have to grasp this urgency, and we have to grasp it because we need to make sure we're playing our part in that target of 2050. But in South Africa, we have to grasp it with urgency for another reason. And that reason is that we ourselves need to make sure that we see our own energy transition happening with more and more urgency. I must say that the delegations that I met last night and yesterday, I think about the German delegation, I think about the Dutch delegation. I see what is happening in the Northern Hemisphere, looking at their own energy shortfalls as we move forward. And I must say, I am green with envy. If I look at, green is a good color, if I look at how quickly you mitigated risks with LNG. Now, of course, we're talking about green hydrogen and a green future, but we're also talking about a transition in South Africa from coal to renewables, wind, solar, green hydrogen. But on that way, we were at a plant yesterday in Saldanha Bay. I see the mayor here. There's the mayor from Saldanha Bay. Thank you for being here, sir. There's a partnership signed with Sasol, with ArcelorMittal, and we have an energy plant at the free port of Saldanha that is standing idle. It has been mothballed because our energy was too expensive to remain competitive. But with this new market, suddenly green hydrogen, a partnership between Sasol, ArcelorMittal, and suddenly the free port of Saldanha and South Africa becomes a player in the green steel environment. And so you can walk through factories that are mothballed and quiet, but you can feel the energy of what we are building here today, yesterday, and tomorrow, and what we're going to be creating. And in Vicky Sampson's words, that African dream. You could feel it. You could feel it in their words this morning as they were singing our anthem and singing what an African dream can be like. Obviously, we've got other work to do. We've got to make sure that the skills pipeline is aligned to green hydrogen and this new market. And between our two provinces and our country, we're going to make sure that we are skilling up our people to take advantage of your investments that are going to come to this region. We're going to have to make sure that we are cutting red tape, that we are making it easy to do business, and that we are making sure that if we are to reach those targets, that business can be done here in Southern Africa. We must make sure that part of the just energy transition, that the investment that is being made from global countries who are part of making sure that Africa is going to play its rightful role, that we get our grid systems invested into. If our grid systems are not able to carry those solar and wind energy plants to our green hydrogen systems, to our own energy grid and our own green future, then we're not going to make it. So we've got to make sure we get the project pipelines into energy production, green, into the grid systems, and into those skill systems that are going to make us that competitive region here in the southern tip of Africa, this corridor, and Africa as a whole. We've got to make sure that this is like a project, like we ran COVID-19, like a project. We make sure that we've got deadlines and outcomes, and we will treat it very, very seriously. My job is only to welcome you. I see in the program there is really unbelievable workshops and sessions that have been set up so that we can all engage from all corners of the world here gathered in the southern tip of Africa, that we can engage and make sure that we are all playing our part in this energy transition with a special focus on this massive opportunity called green hydrogen. They estimate by 2050 that 22% of the world's energy needs will be met through green hydrogen. That is a massive opportunity. I normally say the Western Cape, but I'm going to say in the Northern and Western Cape, in the southern tip of Africa, in South Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, are ready for business. We are ready to play our part. We want to play our part in making sure that we are protecting our planet for our children and those to come. This African dream will become a reality. Welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Premier. Please may I ask the Minister of Public Works, Patricia de Lille, to make her way to the stage to give us some context and background.
Good morning, goeiemorgen, molweni, assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, Minister in the Presidency, Minister Gugumbele, is now officially part of the infrastructure team. Thank you for your leadership. Also to the ministers, deputy ministers, our two premiers, mayors, representatives from government, our international guests and representatives, industry leaders. It is my great pleasure this morning to welcome you to our inaugural conference of the new frontier of energy in South Africa, the Green Hydrogen Summit. As the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, together with ISA, we've been hard at work on the new infrastructure mandate given to the department by the President in 2019 to expedite infrastructure delivery and address the fragmentation of infrastructure. We have also worked with teams of experts in infrastructure South Africa together with the private sector. And I want to thank the private sector for the role that they have played to advance our work in new areas in the infrastructure green space. Thank you very much. As Minister Gugumbele mentioned yesterday, South Africa's got a long history of researching and innovating in the space of infrastructure, going way back to 2007. So as South Africa, we've got a number of inherent advantages that could enable South Africa to be a major player in the anticipated green hydrogen economy. However, more needs to be done to market our ambitions and our appetite to be a world-class green hydrogen production hub to the rest of the world and also to our competitors. As such, we must secure the degree of offtake and investments required to enable South Africa's green hydrogen potential. Now, Infrastructure South Africa has amassed a pipeline of green hydrogen projects with a value of over 300 billion rand. But much of this pipeline still needs to be, needs further project preparation before they can reach financial closure. And I want to, Your Excellency, Mr. President, thank Professor Ramaphosa and his team for leading us and putting in all of this hard work. Thank you, Prof. Just to give you one example of one of the projects that will be the first to come online in South Africa, it is the Prieska Power Reserve project in the Northern Cape under the leadership of Premier Sol. It's a catalytic project that will begin producing green hydrogen and green ammonia in 2026 by combining high-yielding renewable solar and wind energy. And this will be done in a combination with natural resources of water and air located outside of Prieska in the Northern Cape. So the Prieska Reserve project will also create a number of jobs during the construction phase and permanent jobs thereafter. In the first phase of the project, it is anticipated that more than 10,500 jobs will be created over both the construction and the operation phase. It further aims to promote the full and effective participation of women throughout its development, construction, and operational phases. The project aims also to achieve this from an ownership point of view through the operational structure and the beneficiaries. This inaugural South African Green Hydrogen Summit will showcase our country's offering as a large-scale, low-cost, world-class green hydrogen production hub and a total value chain investment destination. We will also profile the projects, the products of both domestic and international firms under the name Promoting South Africa as a Green Hydrogen Investment Destination of Choice. And this will enable our pipeline of projects to succeed against fierce international competition and also to secure a more strategic advantage. Now, part of the process, we will be gazetting a number of projects in line with the Infrastructure Development Act of 2014. And I will briefly explain the advantages of gazetting these projects. We're very confident that the additional projects that we have prioritized as strategic infrastructure projects will address the challenges experienced in the infrastructure environment. So, the next round of projects that will be gazetted in line with the Infrastructure Act of 2014, which enables the projects to follow an expedited path to delivery with stipulated and shorter timeframes for all the necessary approvals. Infrastructure projects that are of economic significance, like these ones, and social importance are fast-tracked when they are gazetted as strategic infrastructure projects. And this is in line with Schedule 2 of the Infrastructure Act. So when we invoke Schedule 2 of the Act, there are prescribed shorter time frames for processes relating to the implementation of the strategic integrated projects. This means that all processes relating to the implementation of the projects, including processes related to any application for approval, authorizations, licensing, permission for exemption, and process relating to any consultation and participation will now run concurrently and not consequential. And that is the, and not sequential, I'm sorry. So that is the difference. And Schedule 2 spells out the shorter time frames and how it's relevant, the periods of public consultation, and also how to assess development and mitigation plan, and to also help with the regulatory decisions. So the sub-coordinators, because we have coordinators for every one of these strategic infrastructure projects, they've been identified, and together with the private sector, they will be expediting the implementation of these infrastructure projects, which will be gazetted as SIPs. Let me come to the additional projects that will be gazetted, but also to inform you that they have already gone through an extensive quality assurance check using our own sustainable infrastructure development system. It's a methodology that we have adopted, where we have adopted the British UK Authority 5-case model. And the value of the projects, like I said, at this stage we are still calculating. So all these proposed projects are also aligned to the National Development Plan. It is aligned to the National Infrastructure Plan. It is aligned to the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, as was announced by the President in 2020. So let me get to the existing projects under the Green Hydrogen National Program. And there are so far 19 projects that fall under this program. A total of 9 projects included in the program have been successfully registered with Infrastructure South Africa, and are either in an early business case or intermediary business case as per the 5-case model. Projects registered with ISA will also receive their strategic infrastructure project letters immediately after the Gazette is published. And it will include the Priska Power Reserve in the Northern Cape, the Ubuntu Green Energy Hydrogen Project also in the Northern Cape, the Buchabai Project Green Hydrogen Development in the Northern Cape, the Atlantia Green Hydrogen in the Western Cape, the Upilanga Solar and Green Hydrogen Park, again in the Northern Cape, the Sasolburg Green Hydrogen 60 megawatt in the Free State, and the Sasol High Shift in Secunda in Mpumalanga, and then the Hive Ammonia in the Eastern Cape. So they are all over the country. And also the Hydrogen Valley, of Anglo-American and their JV partners that also include projects along Limpopo, Gauteng, and the KwaZulu-Natal corridor. Projects that we are waiting on for final project information has been registered with ISA. It is the mainstream renewable energy hydrogen in the Western Cape, AMSA Saldanha Steel Hydrogen Project in the Western Cape, Enetrag Posmasburg Project in the Northern Cape, HDF Energy Renewable IPM1 and Mpumalanga, and then also the Enetrag Indigen Project, the e-methanol in the Eastern Cape, the Isondo Fuel Cells, MEAs, manufacturing in Gauteng, Isondo NCP vehicles in Gauteng, Saldanha Bay Green Hydrogen Project, the Project Phoenix fuel cell manufacturing in the Free State, and then the Cape Stack in the Western Cape. So additional projects that we will also gazette also include a number of projects of the Just Energy Transition, the Oil and Gas National Program, the Embedded Generation National Program. Those are some of the other projects that will be gazetted. So these projects in the Gazette will be coming up in line with in the next few days. And then these projects are programs as adopted by the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Council. And this work has been done in line with our firm belief that infrastructure-led economic growth is the most effective and significant way as part of our economic growth strategy to grow our economy, while at the same time we respond to the socioeconomic needs of our people. Our goal is to build on this vision and to build our economy through quality infrastructure programs and projects. So, President, ladies and gentlemen, the potential for green energy to become a thriving sector in South Africa's economy is huge. And so we're using the summit as a springboard into action to make the potential a reality, to see the green hydrogen industry thriving in our country. As government, we will work together with the green hydrogen sector to create an enabling environment conducive for the private sector to create jobs. We are committed to that so that we bring those much needed jobs to our people. Well, I thank you all and I wish you all a successful conference. We are very happy that you took the time and the enthusiasm. And again, you know, our great thank you to my professor. Professor Ramaphosa, thank you so much and God bless all of you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Just being delegated another task. I have to welcome His Excellency Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa. He needs certainly no introduction. Mr. President, over to you.
Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Program Director, Minister of Public Works, Minister Patricia de Lille, ministers from both South Africa and a number of countries on our continent, as well as deputy ministers who are also in our presence here. And of course, the Premier of the Western Cape and the Premier of the Northern Cape. Premier Zamani Saul, you do not know that there's already not a memorandum of agreement, but an agreement reached, that because the two of you have not only signed some agreements, but you're working so well together, and you even demonstrated it by hugging each other in public. The agreement is we're going to do away with the borders between the two provinces. And when the question was posed, what then happens to the premiership? Premier Winder said, well, we'll do a premier sharing process. 6 months, 6 months. So I've been given the task to choose who goes first. So be nice to me, both of you. Mr. Till Mansman, the Innovation Commissioner for Green Energy of the Federal Ministry of Education and Research of Germany, who is here with us. An Executive Mayor of Cape Town, where I pay my rates and taxes, lots of them, ambassadors and high commissioners and distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. It does indeed give me great pleasure to welcome you all to this inaugural South Africa Green Hydrogen Summit. It should actually be dubbed the African Continental Green Energy Summit, given that we've got a number of ministers from various countries on our continent, and also given the fact that there's already an alliance that has been put together of a number of countries on our continent who are countries that are going to participate in this green energy revolution. This summit builds on a foundation that was laid by the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium, which was held in 2021, which highlighted in many ways our country's potential as a global exporter of green energy. But this summit is also taking place soon after the conclusion of COP27, which was held at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. These gatherings that bring together so many leaders are becoming ever more important, and may I say also urgent, given the devastation that has been caused by the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather occurrences. Low and medium income countries are most affected by these weather events, but are least equipped to adapt and to deal with the climates of climate change, with the effects rather of climate change. And they are the least causes of this climate change that we are going through. They contribute the least, and yet they suffer the most. We therefore welcome the commitment at COP27, a commitment which was made to establish a fund to address climate damage suffered by developing economies. This was an important agreement and development because your developing economy countries, argued, and very strongly so, that they bear the brunt and the damage of climate change, and yet they have contributed the least. So the establishment of a fund, in my view, is an important milestone and needs to be applauded. Applauded only if those countries that are meant to contribute are going to meet their commitments. And we do hope that this time they will meet their commitments. South Africa used the platform at COP27 to fully outline and elaborate on our own country's just green transition. We released our plan, and we released the plan for public comment, which we dubbed the Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, as a basis of our pathway towards a low-carbon and climate-resilient society. I must say that the plan has been well received by many across our country and also across the world. According to the plan, South Africa will need approximately $98 billion over the next 5 years to enable a just transition and achieve our ambitious emissions reduction targets. If you work it out at, say, which is not the case at the moment, at 15 rand a dollar, you're talking about 1.4 trillion rand. Green hydrogen is identified in the investment plan as one of the big four frontiers. Frontiers because that is where we want to go, of a just energy transition, indicating that it has huge growth and investment potential. But on the back of that, it has enormous job creation potential as well, and an overriding improvement of the economic lives of our people. Globally, the demand for green hydrogen and green hydrogen-based products, such as ammonia and the synthetic jet fuels, is rising significantly around the world. This presents a very unique opportunity for South Africa, and may I add for our continent as well, to link its mineral endowment with its renewable energy endowment to drive industrialization. And as we often say, this is Africa's century. And indeed, these wonderful opportunities are opening up not only for South Africa, for Namibia, and for a number of other countries on our continent. At the same time, this will create jobs, attract investment, bring development to rural provinces and a number of other countries on our continent, and support a just transition from fossil fuels. This summit is therefore an opportunity to tell the South African story in this rapidly growing sector. South Africa is not new to the green hydrogen conversation. The Department of Science and Innovation has been leading research as well as innovation in green hydrogen in South Africa since 2007, as we heard earlier, through Hydrogen South Africa. This was motivated in part by the potential impact that the transition Together, South Africa and Zimbabwe hold over 90% of the world's known platinum group metal reserves. Since 30 to 40% of the supply goes into the production of catalytic converters for internal combustion vehicles, the initial focus of the research was on hydrogen-powered fuel cell electric vehicles as an alternative market to the internal combustion engine vehicle. South Africa has existing and future potential to produce green hydrogen. It is estimated that South Africa has the potential to produce 6 to 13 million tons of green hydrogen as well as derivatives a year by 2050. To do so would require between 140 to 300 gigawatts of renewable energy. The focus would be on green hydrogen exports, electrolyzers and fuel cell production, and the manufacture of green steel, sustainable aviation fuel, ammonia, fertilizers, and renewable energy components. So you're looking at a number of products that can flow out of this new sector. South Africa is, in this regard and many other regards, is an investment destination. Some say of choice, but I say it is a must destination for investment. That's where it is. Now, the country has proven itself as a gateway to a dynamic continent with great prospects. And this term gateway, we haven't just plucked it out of the air. It is often used by many people around the world who say that they see South Africa as the gateway. Yes, the gateway into our continent. Africa is growing its output. It is rapidly urbanizing and has a young population. South Africa leads the continent in advanced manufacturing and science and technology. As we are the most industrialized country on our continent, but we use it to good effect, to also bolster the prospects of a number of countries on our continent. This country is a favorable, reliable, and stable place to conduct business. We are driving regulatory and legislative reform to make the South African economy more competitive, to attract more investment so that we can create more jobs. Our country has many inherent advantages that make it internationally competitive in the production of green hydrogen. These include a world-class endowment of both onshore wind and solar irradiation. You already heard that the Northern Cape, which is merging with the Western Cape, and soon it will be with the Eastern Cape to make one gigantic province, is the home of a great heat in our country. South Africa has a supportive legislative environment and experience in deployment of renewable energy, with the largest installed capacity of wind, solar power projects on the African continent. You just need to go to the Northern Cape and just see the whole area, most of it littered with a number of solar as well as wind energy generating projects. Companies like Sasol and Petro SA have expertise in the production of synthetic fuels like diesel, petrol and kerosene, as well as a range of chemical products. That is where capability and expertise resides. South Africa already produces 2.4 million tons of grey hydrogen for domestic consumption. Last year at the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium, we began to profile the remarkable work that a number of large and emerging South African companies are doing in the green hydrogen sector. These include the Bogobai Port and Rail Project, which are fantastic projects that are going to create a number of jobs and attract billions of rands in investment. The project has been under development for over 2 decades and was gazetted as a strategic integrated project in 2020, what we call a SIP. Sasol and the Northern Cape Provincial Government have made significant progress on the master plan for a green hydrogen special economic zone, which aims to support 40 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity by 2050. This would require approximately 80 gigawatts of renewable energy, which is almost double South Africa's current installed electricity generation capacity. Transnet has issued a request for proposals for the development of the port and rail project, which could see the port developed by 2028. Now, we've heard of the Priska Power Reserve project, and this is a wonderful project which I've heard talked about and have met some of the players. Now, this is being led by Mahlaku Apala, a black women-owned renewable energy developer, and they've made major progress over the last year. And I hope that they are here because they've been doing a great job. Now, this project has already moved ahead. It has received most of the required environmental approvals and its water use license, and has brought the Industrial Development Corporation as an equity partner. Now, another initiative is the development of the Hydrogen Valley that would link the 3 hydrogen hubs of Mogalakwena in Limpopo, Johannesburg, and Durban Richards Bay hub. And that is what Minister de Lille was talking about, linking all these 3 provinces. This initiative is being led by the Department of Science and Innovation and supported by Anglo-American, Bambili Energy, as well as Energy. 9 catalytic projects have been identified as part of this initiative, including the successful demonstration by Anglo-American in May 2022 of the world's first largest mine haul truck to run on hydrogen and fuel cells. And they got me to test drive this vehicle, and I did rather well, I must say. The potential for South Africa to emerge as a significant player in the green hydrogen value is not only immense, it is gigantic. And it is why we have identified green energy sector as one of the key sectors that we are going to proceed with in our just energy transition. This is where a new sector beckons. It calls us to come in with investors or investments, and it is going to yield great results for our country. And we look forward to welcoming more of the firms in the green hydrogen value chain and associated technologies into our market. And I'm really delighted that a number of firms from various countries are represented here. And when we held our initial meeting last year, little did we know that there would be such great interest. And I've heard that just this summit, this conference has been oversubscribed. So many more people wanted to participate, which shows that there's great interest, but it is great interest that is moving towards investments and moving towards implementation. We hope to see a number of your companies partnering with South African firms as we increase our renewable energy footprint, green hydrogen manufacturing capability, and local production of value-added products in our country. Our country is not only determined, it aims to become a world leader in green hydrogen. This is our intention. And it's gone beyond being a dream. It is a reality that we are moving towards. Given all these projects that Minister de Lille was announcing and reading out, we are absolutely certain that we are going to be the leader in the green energy, in hydrogen sector. We are determined to make full use of our substantial endowments as a country to meet the challenges of climate change and to achieve a just transition that we want to see benefiting all our people. And as we say in our country, we want this just transition to leave no one behind. It needs to address the needs of workers. It needs to address the needs of communities that are affected. But more importantly, it also needs to lead to economic development. We must see sub-industries spawning in the areas where we are going to have these projects implemented. And in the end, we want to see these projects leading to job creation. Because you cannot, as Minister de Lille was saying, we've already got 300 billion rand committed, and it's going to keep rising, and we cannot invest so much money without it having an impact on job creation. So we're looking forward to a future as part of our just energy transition, accompanied by the other things that we are doing as we implement our economic recovery and reconstruction plan. We're looking forward to more job creation. Just on the just energy transition itself, the green hydrogen beckons, the electric vehicles sector also beckons, and it beckons on some of the challenges that other countries are now having and the ambitions that they have. For instance, we were in the UK recently, and we were told that they are now going to ban the use of petrol and diesel in the next few years to come. We already export vehicles to them, and here an opportunity opens for us as we now, through our just energy transition, have decided that we are going to move into electric vehicles. And great opportunity, not only for one country, but for many other countries. Already, we are a major auto manufacturer in 3 of our provinces, in the Eastern Cape, in KZN, and in Gauteng. And all these provinces, through the workers, have developed great expertise in making high-quality vehicles that we export to many parts of the world and into our own continent as well. So a new flank of economic development is opening up for us. So some people fear this just energy transition, and I say, through this, we will be able to open up new sectors in our economy that are going to create many more jobs. And we are also going to be sending people to various parts of the world to go and see how they have managed their own transition from fossil fuels to renewables. And our plan is so robust that it will be able to enable us to move with a great deal of confidence, a great deal of investment attraction, and a great deal of ensuring that the skills that should underpin our move into all these areas are going to be developed, because young people will be brought in to be key participants in all this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really pleased to be here, and I wish you the best of deliberations. You are trailblazers, you are charting a new path for us, and I want you to be part of this journey as we move forward as South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Please may I ask Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, to come onto the stage, and please may I ask the high-level panelists to make their way to the stage as well, who are taking part in our first high-level panel.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Thank you, Mr. President.